Hey everyone, Avros here, back with the next Lufenia fight, which is the one for the second half of Act 3, Chapter 1, which is the introduction of Ceodore as our latest character. So, for this Lufenia fight, you're fighting against two tunneler bosses. These bosses are kind of annoying. This is a part where I was playing the game for a while on the Japanese servers, so I did have a bit of experience fighting these from the co-op and fighting them at Chaos difficulty, didn't get my account up to Lufenia in time because this is around when I started. And I did pick up Lufenia on the JP side, so was prepared for him coming out here to pick him up again because I found him to be extremely helpful. So for these bosses, they do have a Lufenia Orb that requires you to cleanse debuffs, meaning in a lot of cases you actually need them to take turns to put the debuffs up. I did a little bit of manipulating of the turns and everything like that where I could to try and make sure they got a turn to put debuffs up on me around when they were going to summon the second lot of Lufenia Orbs to deal with that. So speaking of those, the Orbs do appear at battle start with a 20 count and will disappear at 79% HP once you've dealt enough damage to them, and then reappears again at 49% HP with a 10 count, and cleansing the debuffs from them will increase that count by 20. I'm not sure exactly what the cap is. I did see at one point during the fight the orb count was at 24, so it does look like it does go above that initial starting 20 count. Other notes about these bosses, they're weak to ice and holy damage, so both Onion Knight's enchanting and all of the stuff that he does being ice damage is very handy, and Ceodore deals a lot of holy damage, so he's pretty good. Or alternatively, you could bring someone like Kuja. He also has holy enchant and imperil, so you could, take advantage of that. Not that the imperil is necessarily needed with them being already weak to holy. Other dispels you could bring, obviously, instead of Ceodore, is you could bring Pinello or Balthier to cleanse yourself of debuffs, but those three are basically the best position ones for this. I mean, you could also bring someone like Yuna or Cyan or someone like that to also get rid of debuffs. They absorb thunder and earth damage to bosses, so don't bring anyone that deals that. That's gonna just cause you a lot of issues. They're also immune to paralyze, HP attack, disable, and a couple of their own debuffs, so you can't throw them back with Yuffie. Their recast ability that they do ignores HP damage reduction effects, so no relying on something like Gladio or something like that to get through that one. It also will dispel the leftmost buff each of your party members has, and inflicts the Toxin debuff, which is a HP poison. They also have a lot of Brave gain throughout the fight. They will get a lot of Brave at 79%, 59%, 49%, and 19% HP, and also they all delay themselves when they do that and queue up all attacks which are Brave gains into a double HP AoE. So if you're worrying about the Lufenia Orb and needing them to take a turn and put a debuff on you because the count's getting really low and they're getting close to 19% HP or like 49% HP when the Orb first spawns, then you got to be careful about them delaying themselves and not giving an opportunity to dispel a orb there. They also will cleanse all of their debuffs at 79% and 49% HP, so they'll cleanse all the debuffs when the orb first gets dispelled and when they reappear the orb for the last phase of the fight, so definitely something to keep in mind if you're planning to use LD call abilities like Jax or Hopes there to do the magic damage in peril. The other thing that they do as well is they have a stance they'll go into. I'm not entirely sure what the indicator for it is, but I did notice it myself, where they gain resistance to all weapon types, so you really do need elemental damage to deal with that. They'll become immune to melee, ranged, and magic, so literally every weapon type. So bringing along an enchanter to, keep any units you've got that don't do elemental damage, in my case Ramza for this fight, is very useful, and my enchanter obviously being Onion Knight for ice there. So I mentioned a few times throughout that what my party composition was for this fight. So I decided to bring, obviously, a couple of synergy units in Onion Knight and Ceodore. Both of them deal elemental damage and are good for just overall damage output for this fight. And Ceodore does have his LD there to cleanse all debuffs and heal the party, just making sure we can deal with the sort of incidental chip damage from the Toxin, as well as any other damage taken from AoE attacks, and to increase the count on the Lufenia Orb. And for the last slot in the party, I decided to bring Ramza. wanted him there for additional healing to, again, offset any sort of chip damage or AoE damage that was taken, as well as doing a lot of buffing and keeping those up so that whenever the recast ability was used, I wasn't necessarily losing any important debuffs there. And that actually worked out pretty well. So also brought Ramza as a friend unit so that I could utilize his burst to increase damage from everyone in the party before using Onion Knight's burst, and just try and do as much damage in as short a time as possible towards the end of the fight. And yeah, Call Abilities decided to bring Jax, obviously. If you've got it, there's no reason not to bring it in most of these fights, as it is a massive boost to your overall damage output towards tail ends of fights once bravery reduction starts becoming much more of an issue to deal with in the last parts of fights. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully this helps with any sort of team planning you've got, or anything you're trying to do. If there's anything I can do to make these sort of initial rundowns of the fight and my thoughts and party composition to make them more useful for you, feel free to let me know down below. And thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of the fight.
けたいんだ。思いを込めて逃がさない。僕は臆病者だ。それでも迷いなし。油断した。見切った。別動して。こんなのいくぞ。さあ行くよ。遅いね。痛いよ。おしまい。いけ。いけ。魔力で勝負。もらった。はあ。天の裁きを。
おしまいにしよう。
もう迷わない。魂を引き出す。はあ。虚空を貫け。やってやる。別動して。さあ行くよ。くらえ。別動して。僕に任せろ。僕に宿る月の力よ。打ち砕く。魂を引き出す。はあ。虚空を貫け。やってやる。別動して。いけ。別動して。僕に任せろ。もう迷わない。トリプルプラス。さあ行くよ。遅いね。痛いよ。